There were an ancient race of people called humans. Humans were an interesting bunch and not the right kind. They were locked in an eternal battle. And by now, World War III, 4, 5 had all happened. And eventually, our main states, which I don't really know the names of because of, as far as I know, they never really elaborated on that. The main state's enemies launched a nuke on Antarctica, causing the polar ice caps to melt, so everybody had to go hide underground and probably watch reruns of Seinfeld. There were multiple colonies. There were the Underground Bunker Society.com, the Underground Train Station Society.jpg, and there was the Alterna Society.com/coral. And there was also the Space Colony. The Space Colony. The Underground Bunker Society was wiped out pretty quickly. The Underground Train Station Society pretty much just vanished. And the Space Society was never able to redock on Earth and ran out of fuel on their way back. And the Alterna Society flourished until they didn't. Humanity is pretty much dead now, and while mammals have all died, whoopsie, marine life had developed intelligence and flourished. More specifically, the Inklings and Octolings, the evolutions of squids and octopi who had a genetic boost from Alterna crystals, which hastened their evolution process. Before the Underground Society, Bunker.com, had died, a brilliant scientist created a chamber capable of freezing someone for 1,000 years. He also gave his cat immortality, but when faced with the moral dilemma of saving all of humanity and saving his pet cat Judd, he chose his cat. So humanity was dead, and back to the Inklings and Octolings. They had built their own societies, a lot of which worshipping the cat Judd. Yes, he is out of his sleep. Eventually, our modern dudes had just used him for judging the results of their lethal paint wars. Anyway, there were these two Octolings and Inklings called Cuttlefish and Octavio. And they were pretty tight, until they weren't. So they broke out in a war with Captain Cuttlefish leading one side along with Judd and some other dudes I'm not even going to mention unless they're important, which they probably aren't. Octavio was ultra owning our heroes until he wasn't. So Inklings won, and Octolings were forced to live in humanity's old bunkers. Many years later, some Inklings decided to hold the youth singing competition, and this one girl named Pearl had a voice so loud she broke the speaker system. So these other two girls, called Callie and Mary, who just so happened to be Captain Cuttlefish's granddaughters, won. And they used this success to kickstart their singing career, calling themselves the Squid Sisters, despite actually being cousins. Anyway, back with Octavio and the Octolings, they tried to make the best of their living situation by lining the walls with giant LCDs. But eventually they ran out of power, probably related to the giant LCDs. I don't know, maybe not. Anyway, DJ Octavio figured out how to make mind control glasses. So he slapped them on every Octoling's face and convinced them to steal the great Zapfish, source of all power in the Splatoon universe. You know, and the smaller Zapfish. We are only talking about the great Zapfish. But guess what? There's a twist. Captain Cuttlefish saw the whole thing. Why? Because he's a paranoid old man and a creep. He had been spying on the Octolings out of paranoia for a long time, and this was just the excuse he needed to punch old DJ Octavio in the face again. So he went out looking for children. Then he met somebody named Agent 3. They're not actually called that. That's just what the old man dubbed them. Anyway, Agent 3 went on to go destroy the Octarian weapons to recover the Great Zapfish and all the other little Zapfish and whatnot. But eventually, he got to DJ Octavio and busted him up. Which is ironic, because if anything, DJ Octavio should have been the one busting him up, considering he has a giant robot.